Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by everything life throws at you? Maybe it's the long list of to-dos, the relentless pressures, or the worry about tomorrow. Have you ever thought, how am I supposed to handle all of this? Well, today we're diving deep into that very question. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand how to approach life in a way that brings peace and clarity, but you'll also discover the beauty and power of living one day at a time. Life can often feel like a whirlwind, can't it? It's easy to get caught up in thinking about the future, planning for it, worrying about it, or even dreading it. But here's the truth. God never intended for us to carry the burden of tomorrow on our shoulders. In fact, Jesus himself tells us in Matthew chapter 6, verse 34, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." Isn't that a freeing thought? You don't have to solve tomorrow's problems today. All you need to do is focus on what God has placed in front of you right now. But let's be honest, it's easier said than done, right? Sometimes life feels like a mountain, and instead of taking it one step at a time, we stand at the base staring at the peak and think, how will I ever get there? The answer is simple, step by step, one day at a time. Let me give you an example. Consider Simone Biles, one of the most celebrated gymnasts in history. Her incredible success didn't happen overnight. Each flip, each routine, and each medal was the result of years of consistent effort, one practice at a time. Simone herself has spoken about focusing on the task at hand rather than the big picture. That's how greatness is built, by faithfully showing up every day, doing what needs to be done, and trusting the process. The same is true for us in our spiritual journey. Take Ruth from the Bible as an example. When she lost her husband and decided to follow her mother-in-law, Naomi, to a foreign land, she didn't have a grand master plan. Ruth didn't know what the future held. She simply took the next step of faith. She gleaned in the fields day by day, trusting that God would provide. And what happened? God not only provided for her immediate needs, but he also wove her story into his grand plan of redemption. Ruth became the great-grandmother of King David and an ancestor of Jesus Christ, all because she chose to live one day at a time, trusting God with her future. This principle of living in the present isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. When we're constantly focused on the future, we miss the blessings of today. Think about it. How often do we rush through our days distracted by what's next, only to realize we've missed the beauty right in front of us? Maybe it's the laughter of a child, the warmth of a sunrise, or the kindness of a stranger. These are gifts from God, but we can only fully appreciate them when we're present in the moment. Now, let me tell you about someone else who embodies the power of living one day at a time, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yes, he's known for his larger-than-life persona and incredible success, but what's truly inspiring is his relentless focus on the present. In interviews, The Rock often talks about his daily habits, his discipline, and his commitment to showing up, whether it's in the gym, on set, or with his family. He doesn't let the pressures of tomorrow steal his joy or his determination today. That's a mindset we can all learn from. Of course, the enemy would love nothing more than to distract us from living in the moment. He wants us to be paralyzed by fear of the future or trapped in regret over the past. But the Bible reminds us in Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 to 23, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Did you catch that? God's mercies are new every morning. That means we get a fresh start each day, a new opportunity to experience his grace, his guidance, and his provision. So how do we embrace this way of living? How do we truly take life one day at a time? First, we start with prayer. Begin each day by inviting God into it. Ask him for the strength, wisdom, and patience to handle whatever comes your way. As it says in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving present your requests to God." When we start our day in His presence, we anchor ourselves in His peace. Second, focus on gratitude. Gratitude shifts our perspective and helps us see the blessings in the here and now. Instead of worrying about what you don't have or what's yet to come, take a moment to thank God for what you do have. Maybe it's the roof over your head, the food on your table, or the breath in your lungs. Gratitude keeps us grounded and reminds us of God's faithfulness. Third, break your day into manageable steps. Don't let the enormity of your tasks overwhelm you. Take it one step at a time, trusting that God will guide you through each moment. Remember, God provided manna for the Israelites in the wilderness one day at a time. He didn't give them enough for a week or a month, just enough for that day. Why? Because He wanted them to rely on Him daily. The same is true for us. God gives us what we need for today, and that's enough. And finally, let go of what you can't control. So much of our worry stems from trying to manage things that are beyond our power. But as it says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. Trusting God means releasing our grip on the future and placing it in His hands. Living one day at a time doesn't mean we stop planning or dreaming. It means we surrender the outcome to God. It means we trust that He knows what's best for us, even when we don't understand His timing. It's about embracing the truth that His grace is sufficient for today, and His promises will carry us into tomorrow. As we wrap this up, let me leave you with a thought that carries profound significance. C.S. Lewis once said, "The present is the point at which time touches eternity." Think about that for a moment. Isn't it a stunning realization? This very moment, right here, right now, is where our fleeting human experience intersects with the infinite. Every second we live in the present is an invitation to connect with the eternal God, to rest in His presence, to feel His love, and to align ourselves with His divine purpose. The beauty of this thought lies in its simplicity. You don't have to wait for some future breakthrough or accomplishment to experience the fullness of God. It's available to you right now. Living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the future or dismissing your dreams. It means trusting that God's plans are far greater than anything we could imagine. It's choosing to believe that His timing is perfect, that His grace is sufficient, and that His promises are unshakable. When you take life one day at a time, you're not just surviving. You're making room for God to work in ways you may not yet see. You're creating space for His joy to fill your heart, His peace to guard your mind, and His strength to sustain your journey. Think of a mountain climber. No one reaches the summit in a single leap. Instead, each step is intentional, deliberate, and grounded in faith that the peak is worth the climb. That's how God calls us to walk with Him, one step at a time, one day at a time, trusting that He sees the entire path even when we can't. And just as a climber pauses to take in the breathtaking views along the way, we too must pause to recognize the beauty and blessings that God places in our lives daily. Jesus reminds us of this in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. It's a promise that when we prioritize God, when we put His will above our worries and His purpose above our plans, He will take care of everything else. Living one day at a time is not about letting go of responsibility. It's about releasing control to the one who holds the universe in His hands. It's about trusting that the same God who paints the skies with sunsets and numbers, the stars, knows exactly what you need and when you need it. So how do we live this way? By waking up each morning and saying, God, today is yours. Lead me, guide me, and help me to see your hand in every moment. By refusing to let the weight of yesterday's regrets or the uncertainty of tomorrow's challenges rob you of the joy that's available today. By believing that every step you take, no matter how small or uncertain, is leading you closer to the purpose He has designed for your life. One day at a time, one step at a time. That's how mountains are climbed. That's how lives are changed. That's how faith is built. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to trust the one who does. Remember, God is with you every moment, every breath, every step of the way. So take this moment, this beautiful, precious moment, and embrace it as a gift from Him. Because in this moment, time touches eternity, and you are walking hand in hand with your Creator.